Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Blue Star Rising, the Templar Awakening. I am Michael Henry Dunn, and so glad to be here with Reverend Maia, Chrystine, Nartoomid. Hello, Maia.
Hello there, way off there in Cal.
Right, I've got the Self-Realization Fellowship Lake Shrine behind me virtually, and I am actually broadcasting from Los Angeles this time. Ordinarily, I'm in southern Colorado in the high San Luis Valley with also as Reverend Maia is. So today, would you give us the title again, Maia, of the video we're sharing today?
Oh, wow. Okay. The video we're sharing is the Metatronic Fulcrum and our evolution through duality.
Right. The Metatronic Fulcrum and our evolution through duality. So I think it'd be a good idea to go right to the video, share it with everyone. It is meta science of a very high order. I really encourage everybody to watch it at least a couple of times and maybe three. And my experience was that when you come to the final piece, it's just 11 minutes. That when you come to the final piece of sharing on this subject, that it does integrate, and for us regular folks, who are not, I mean, even for people who are steeped in this kind of high meta science, sacred science, this is of a different order, and it's very condensed. And at the same time, it's very exciting because when you come round to it and you say, okay, so here, now, in 2021, what does this mean for the balancing of polarity within our 3D reality, and how the key thing for the light that is trapped in the 3D reality to be liberated, which is to say our light, our ability to access our full divine scope and spectrum, our ability to access interdimensionally, to experience the full divine blueprint of our souls through the Amidst molecule, and that ultimately our destiny, best purpose, best choices right now, given that, as you point out, there are the fallen factions who are simply through what most people would refer to as the extraction economy, are using what you refer to as Stone Age methods, Stone Age science, compared to our true capabilities and the power and beauty of the true sacred science technologies that can be available to us for healing, what you refer to as the light pollution that is keeping humanity limited and trapped, and keeping this light quotient trapped. That the use of these high sacred technologies can create pockets of light on Earth, and that, being realistic, we should not expect to create a paradise on Earth, and there will be great resistance by the fallen factions to the creation of these pockets of light through the use of these high sacred technologies, which are in tune with the natural world and are greatly liberating to both healing of the planet and the realization of the full divine potential of humanity, that we can create enough pockets of light on the planet such that humanity can move through these pockets of light and just raise our vibration sufficiently to the point where light principle 40, the ascension timeline, the movement into the frequency and the experience of the new earth becomes possible. Is that, does that sound like an accurate thumbnail sketch of the impact I'm
Sure.
hoping?
It does. It does. And I think when you watch the video and see how it all comes together to really create a platform for us in the pyramidus radius matrix that I speak of, which is the platform that we can launch from, from this earth level, from world system 1 to world system 2, and how we're all creating that platform now in concert with the ultra beings and the inner beings. And it's an exciting time. I know it seems very challenging and a lot of scary stuff going on and all of this, but the light workers are coming forward to create these arcs of light, as Thoth calls it, these land areas. The golden Taya is, I was given the term back in the 1970s, where these light energy fields would be exemplified and brought into fruition. And we're seeing that happen. It's just beginning to start right now, but it is happening. And I've been talking to different people that have come into my life circumstance that are already just ready to create these realities, to become part of creating them. So let's watch the video and then we can talk more about it.
Right. Okay. So with that, relax, sit back, and enjoy 11 minutes of high meta science that by the time you get to the end of the video, I believe, will come into focus for you in light of what we've just been sharing. And then we will we'll share some more. So we'll watch the video now and be back with you shortly.
In the 1990s, my colleague William Buehler was telling me the Hebrew version of the creation of souls. It began with the point of interchange between the inner and outer levels of the ethereal field through which souls came into life. This is symbolically represented by two figures, each seated on a throne, their arms raised in the air. Between these forms is a forearm, palm up, thumb extended upward. This hieroglyph depicts the pivotal node through which a soul is presented via the higher forms of its soul grouping into the lower ethers. As William was relating all this to me, I experienced a vision in which I saw two throned male figures with the disattached forearm in the center. They looked very much like the concept of Godhead representatives, complete with long white beards. Above their heads was an image of the Kaaba, the black cube of Mecca, and the Ormid. This is something Thoth speaks about that he calls the cube of stars, with a figure 8 or infinity sign attaching them. I asked William to draw this for me, which he did. However, in his version, the men are depicted as hieroglyphs rather than the full forms I saw, and my fellows were larger, with the dynamic above their heads about 1/3 of their size. Even so, in my vision, it was made clear that the point of ingress-egress was at the center of the 8. Thoth intelligence was calling this dynamic the Metatronic Fulcrum. I realized that this dynamic activated the full Metatronic spiral through the entire tree of life, not only quickening this activation within present humanity, but allowing a transference of polar forms between two distinctly opposite universes, the universe of the Kaaba and the universe of the Ormid. Previously, when humanity has interacted with the opposites, it has been within its own form field. But this new dynamic opens the gate to interplane correspondence far beyond the sense nature. If the figure 8 is stood upright, it can be seen as the inside mechanism of the Metatronic spiral as it displays its double cone vector from above to below. It also forms the inner grid for the MSTRA, the Metatronic Star Tech Redemption Apex light molecule within the DNA. This light molecule is advancing within the human crystallic structure. It is the missing link to our star-engendered origins, giving us, once again, access to these divine patterns of being. In transference of waves of divine codings from the Kaaba cube inverted to the Ormid cube outring universe fields, so we as center point commanders on our starship thrones will be able to truly assume the role of co-creators, the new Elohim. We will be creating new amalgams, mixtures of both principles or universes within our succeeding generations, thus enabling them to truly go where no man has gone before on star techs beyond imagining. I'm informed by my sources that a star tech is a lattice of star energies created by a non-lateral gravity system, i.e. outside polarity, containing no opposite poles, interacting on high-state star emissions from the centers of the living lights. These are the angelic resonances within star matter. I'm going to pause to say it's simply not in our human design to be able to understand how we could possibly have a polarity outside, a gravity system outside polarity, but this is what is stated here. A non-lateral gravity system is created with two or more pairs of positive-negative magnetic fields, each from different star valencies. This is the combining power of an atom, or universes, forming a greater valency, canceling out dualistic functions within the combined dynamic. I will spare you with any further metascience on this subject for now, but will say that by doing away with polar opposites, at least within this format, no dimension or universe would be inaccessible to us. In order to liberate the souls of the earth who have come under the spell of the fallen star energies of entropy, the higher level Metatronic light principles must be reinstated within their consciousness domain. The primary stellar coordinates for this transmission of these teachings for Earth are the Pleiades, Orion, and Sirius. These teachings are based upon unconditional love, compassion, and forgiveness, the very same principles Christ taught during his time upon the earth. It must be understood that those who have come under this fallen spell of star energies exist within all faiths and cultures upon the earth, and that the higher Metatronic light principles can be found in all true scriptures upon the planet. However, while all true scriptures of the earth have originated from the principles of full light given by the hierarchy, they have all degenerated considerably from the original knowledge form imparted to the earth via the transmissions from the Pleiades, Orion, and Sirius. Thoth gave me information some years ago relating the 666 inversion to 999 and its relativity to the Kaaba. Remember that a cube has 6 sides to it, or 6 spatial fields of organization, thus representing the 6 physical energy fields of the matter realm. In effect, there are 3 cubes or levels in the matrix 666, representing 3 different levels of creation, the nature of a 3-dimensional world. Currently, the Earth and other worlds like her are in a serious dilemma. They have become entrapped within the 666 cubic function of half-light programming, and it is through the intervention of the masters and lords of light, the archangels, angels, Elohim, and brotherhoods working with the Metatronic Christic councils of light, that Earth is given the dispensation she now resides within. This intervention or dispensation is authorized under the mandate of the violet flame, which is issued from the office of Archangel Michael. Without this higher dimensional assistance, this solar system would rapidly begin the final phase of its entropic demise, and there would be little hope of redeeming the light trapped within this half-light cycle of evolution. And now, in 2021, we can maintain a high state of duality within a field of subliminal waveform in order to abide within a sustainable domain, while at the same time move beyond the need for our full spectrum reality to be contained within polar opposition. To bring this down to a simple understanding, we must integrate our polarities into a balanced state. Why we have such difficulty with polarity is that it is wildly out of balance. When the mass consciousness of Earth became so out of touch with its universal signature of light, the light inscription of Metatron, the axis of the planet tilted to the extreme from its point of universal balance. This furthered the inability of humanity to regain parity within the divine concordance of its holographic universal field. So how do we create our return to parity within the Metatronic Fulcrum? The obvious answer is to become more aware of our holistic selves and the world around us, to create heart resonance with all living things and the very soul of Gaia. Yet in order to fully achieve that as a species, we must first address our physical environment. Perhaps there is nothing we can or even should do about the tilt of the Earth's axis, but we can clean up the vibrational pollution by implementing advanced technology that is in harmony with the natural world. This technology already exists, but it is kept out of our reach by those who benefit by running the world through Stone Age energy systems. Once we liberate the source energy science from its prison of human greed and manipulation, we will be able to create an environment in which to thrive both physically and spiritually. Unfortunately, what I see of the future through the Thothic streaming is not such a world, not in total. There will be pockets of non-pollution zones which form on the earth, created by aware human beings who have the courage and ability to give this gift to humanity. But the resistance will be great. Thoth reminds me again and again that we will not create a paradise in this reality. We can build a more stable and interactive association with the greater universal light fields in certain parts of the planet. As such areas develop and shine, so this enlightened part of humanity will be ready to be received by the ascension of consciousness and physical atomic light into the new Earth star. Thus, our destined future is to become the builders and navigators of Arks of Light upon the earth.
All right, welcome back. So, wow, it's a lot to take in. I have a friend here in Los Angeles with whom I shared it in advance, and she has already taken it in a couple of times, and said, "Yeah, it's high meta science that coheres and has impact and is highly compelling." And so, is there anything you'd want to say, Maia, that right off about helping people understand what we all can do to help balance this polarity, to create, to become the architects and creators of these arcs of light, these pockets of light on Earth that can
Yes, yeah.
help us turn the corner.
Well, the feeling of the higher five, the inner earth that I'm working with, all of this is one of a moment of just bursting light. It's just ready. It's like the flower is just going like this. It's just about right here, but it's ready to go like that. And we now that does not mean that we turn a blind eye to the situations at hand, because they're very real. Oh, they've been distorted and exaggerated and played down in ways, all of this kind of trappings of archonic investiture. But the basis of it is real. It's here, it's among us, and we can't turn a blind eye to it, and we need to deal with it in an everyday way in our lives. But not to become entranced by it, entranced by the drama or the fear, or try to make sense of all the different parts of the whole that may be true, maybe not true, maybe sort of true, all of that. We have to just raise our divining flame, the flame that divines the truth in us, and just go through it and know where we're going with it. We can feel through it rather than trying to focus in the head too strongly. So that's one thing, because if we are too distracted mentally, and also that drains the physicality with all that's going on, or we react and keep ourselves free from all of that by not looking at it, not accepting it, not realizing it. Both of these are extremes. We need to find a balance in our physical bodies and in our emotional bodies, so that we can be present with the current situation and yet not a part of it. And as we extract ourselves from that mire, and it's difficult because there's so much magnetic energy associated with it, because mentalizing and fear and the masses to glue you to the screen door, So it's important that we maintain some kind of a either a daily practice or daily thought that ignites us into the flame of the true message that's being given us right now. And that message is not about virus or the world leaders or the wars or any of that. The message is that it's like a laser, that beautiful laser sword cutting through all of that. And the message is, we will rise again. And we will rise through the dark on our souls, etched in there for eons of time, and not some newfangled presentation. It's something that's been with us all along, and it's ready to burst free. It's ready to rise. I love that song. Of course, I can't remember her name. She sings, it's called Rise, the song is, because it really exemplifies what we're going through right now and what is being asked of us. And when we take hold of that flaming torch in our being, we begin to realize and draw to us our tasks in this new environment. And these tasks are out of love, not fear, hate, or ambivalence. It is love that guides us, but it's not a fuzzy love. It's a warrior sense of who we are, sense of purpose, and what our particular mission in all of this is. And the mission may change from here to here to here, but it has the same core, the core value that is the dynamic that fires the engine. So, you be maybe sitting there going, well, I'm a spiritual person, I do I do yoga, or I do this and that, and I'm listening to videos like this, and have a lot of deep thinking. But I just can't. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing in this new environment. This is the moment of germination for many, many people right now. And in germination, you're not about doing, you're about being. You have to be with it, and you have to sustain that being, and keep your heart open and your higher mind open to receive, but not be pulling on the shoots. You have to let it grow within you, and you'll be amazed at how fast you are delivered into the right space at the right time for your talent and your questing. If you do that, if you relax and yet abide with your inner flame.
Well, that's really all we can do. It is, as you say, the magnetic power of all the distractions out there is strong. It's considerable. And, coming here to Los Angeles after my time in the mountains, it's palpable to me. I mean, there are in Chrystine, we experience the same sort of divisions of perspective and understanding, and yet the unique vibrations and qualities of Chrystine and that valley and the spiritual energies present there make it easier to remain in this sort of higher streaming that allows the next right task to come into view for you. And that's, the question for people. They go, well, this all sounds great, and I'm doing my yoga, and I have a meditation practice, and, I'm a good person. Yeah, I've got issues and working on stuff, but so what do I do? And I listen to your show, and, well, it's a day-to-day receptivity to the divine will as it's unfolding uniquely in your life, your path, your dharma, your heart's desire. What I think of as your higher heart's desire. And, that gives us joy. What gives you joy? And that, the path of our contribution to this unfolding lies along the path of our joy. And I know it's, a little bit of a cliche, follow your bliss, etc. Well, to follow your bliss in this time, with the pandemic and now with, the Middle East flaring up again, to stay centered is more difficult. And to me, for myself, I'm here in Los Angeles, and following my joy has been about sharing kirtan, the chanting of the divine name, devotional music. And of course, I'm here also as a storyteller. I'm here for Echoes of the King, the Elvis project, the documentary we've been working on. And these are the things that give me joy. I am a bard, really, a storyteller, a devotional singer. And so now this is coming to focus. And I am feeling, really, the process you're describing, Maya, what you're recommending to people is something that I've been feeling much more tangibly in the last couple of weeks since I've been in California again, and taking everything that I absorbed and have learned in the last 5 years since I came to Chrystine, and sharing it, and doing what gives me joy. And it's been very gratifying and touching to experience the response again of of people and people respond that way to any of us. It's very inspiring and activating when we see anyone stepping into their true path, their true joy, and just saying, yeah, world's going to heck in a handbasket. So what? I'm going to, you know, out of the best balance I can find, I'm going to find what gives me joy and activate it and practice it, and um, not get pulled down, not get pulled down by the drama and the divisions. And it can be very difficult because there's a lot of practical consequences which are increasing in terms of, you know, the control mechanisms that are being put in place. And but you do see it unfolding. I do see what you call the golden Taya, these pockets of light, that we can be the architects of, these arcs of light on Earth. I can see how there will be places where um, Gaia is healed and empowered. We are healed and empowered. These high technologies come into practice. There will be decentralizing going on, which, you know, is to say pockets of comparative autonomy and sovereignty. And there will be formidable efforts to, you know, bring those areas back under control. So it's not going to be a cakewalk, and it's a grand adventure. You know, this is the other thing to remember. We are in this grand adventure time. And if you can appreciate story, appreciate your place in this amazing story, well, it brings it all alive. You know, it allows us to say, okay, it's not easy, but it can be fun. I mean, fun on a high divine level is
Yes.
what occurs to me. You know, I think of Lord of the Rings and Frodo and Sam at the end of their journey. They've destroyed the ring and they've escaped from the mountain of fire, and there's rising lava all around them, and they're basically about to be consumed by lava. And Sam says to Frodo, he says, Mr. Frodo, do you suppose we will ever be put into songs or tales? You know, oh, I wish I could hear them tell our story, you know, like we did at Rivendell with the elves. Everybody hushed and we listened to the story of Beren, One Hand, and the Great Jewel. You suppose maybe someday they'll say, oh, now comes the tale of Frodo and the Ring, you know? And here they are, you know, these characters that we think of as being, you know, in the most epic, dazzling story, one of the greatest ever told. And it's the genius of Tolkien that they are ordinary souls just like us, struggling, you know, through amazing hardships and thinking, wow, well, there are the great stories and the great epic transformations. And then there's us. There's us, you know, we're plodding along. No, this is the epic story.
Yes.
Your life, your struggles are
I totally
the
agree.
epic story. Yeah.
Yes, yes. You know, so speaks of the mythos. You know, my old archive site now, Spirit Mythos. It wasn't because what was on it was just myth and not reality. The term mythos, from the Thothic perspective, is the developing story of truth that is presented in its most symbolic and visualizing nature, because every story is a picture and every picture is a story, and the wording that's used, you know, you don't have to stray from reality to paint a picture and paint with words and images and in song the true story, but bring it into a flourish of design so that the soul responds to it. instead of like a grocery list. I mean, our life kind of seems like a grocery list sometimes, well, the pears and the apples and peas, I'll put them over here. It's like you're just going down the line, But if you take your story and you find the gems inside it in each moment and you give it that mythic quality, that's what the soul responds to. And all of a sudden you go, wow, this life I'm living, it seems mundane on the surface, but look at all the richness that's going on. So that's, what you're saying, that's what inspired me to say what I'm saying. It's a connection there with what you're talking about.
Yeah, it reminds me of another moment in Lord of the Rings where Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas are pursuing the band of orcs who have taken Merry and Pippin captive, and they've been running virtually without a stop for 3 days and tracking the orcs. And then they come into the plains of Rohan, the horse lords, and they encounter this this band of horsemen of the people of Rohan, and there is led by Eomer, and they're surrounded by these rings of horses and spears because they're strangers who've come into the Rohan land, and Eomer, says, what an elf, a man, and a dwarf doing in our land. Speak quickly, right? So Aragorn is like, all right, we are pursuing a band of orcs who have taken 2 of our friends captive. And then at a certain point, and this is in the book, Aragorn decides to stand in who he is and not just be like, okay, I'm going to diplomatically see if I can move through this. He is an epic figure. He is the heir of Isildur. He is carrying the shards of Narsil, the sword that was broken. He is the destined king, right? And he's this guy who's been running for 3 days, and he and his 2 friends are exhausted and bloody, and, but he just takes out his sword, and he says, Elendil, I am Aragorn, son of Arathorn, called Elisar, scion of the Dunedain, and this is the sword that was broken, which shall return to Minas Tirith. Will you aid me or thwart me? Choose swiftly. Right? So the writers are like, one of them says to his leader, are we in legends and myths, or do we trod the green earth under daylight? Who are these folk with their fancies? And Aragorn says, the green earth? That is a mighty matter of legend. Not we, but those who come after us will make the legends of our time. The green earth? Do we trod the green earth under daylight? Are we in this 3D reality or not? This green earth. You walk out the door after hearing this program. I was like, oh, that was nice. I listened to Maia and Michael. Now I'm back on the pavement here. I got to go to work. I'm dealing with whatever. You are trodding the skin of Gaia. It's all around you. You are the center of this epic story. You are. And not we, but those who come after us will make the legends of our time. But this is the mightiest matter of legend you can possibly imagine, is your feet on the surface of Gaia, unfolding your story, your heart's desire. So anyway, with that.
Well, as you're saying that, I'm also seeing how it's important to speak your truth. I mean, we're all, we're nice people. We don't lie. We speak the truth we see before us. But I mean, you're in an environment with people sometimes that you don't think they can handle what you have to say. So you tap on it. You don't say it all. You say what you need to say, and that's it. Now the time, though, we have to step up and speak our truth, not harshly, not with criticism, but with conviction, and let the chips fall where they may. At the office place or at the kindergarten or wherever you are, you just need to say what you really know. And you don't have to be on a soapbox to do it. Just a word or two here, a sentence or two there, just a little zinger. And people might go, what's he talking about? And then in the middle of the night, they'll go, that kind of, yeah, I need to think about that. And that's the way it spreads, rather than just keeping silent and saying, well, they wouldn't understand. It's time to make that stand. The other thing I wanted to get back to was the duality part, because that's the main part of what I wanted to present here. And it certainly figures into what we're talking about. Because Thoth has said many times, and I've said it on this show, but I will repeat it, the only reason we have problems with duality is we're not doing it right. There's nothing wrong with duality. Duality is a part of the process of growth and experiential spirit. And we're not anywhere near the point, the stage in the soul process of evolution in incarnational bodies that we can do away with duality. Unity does not mean a lack of duality. Unity is unifying the fields of the dual system so that they operate in concordance with your spiritual program of life. And that's what we are about on this plane and in the new earth as well, because the world system 2 is still a dual system. I'm sure there's 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not even going to think about that. But in world system 2, we still have a dual system, but it's operative in a harmony of expression. The two halves of the brain are operating as one, not glommed together, but as one unit. And in the heart, the two halves of the heart are operating as one unit. We have two eyes, we're bifocal, but we're not really seeing because we don't have the third eye open. So, there are all kinds of things that are part of the true balanced duality that we've not achieved yet. And yet we can start doing that right now. We already are starting to do it. But how to prepare ourselves for the ultimate experience of harmonic duality begins now.
Yes, I think of someone I know in New Mexico who was a spiritual counselor was saying to me once, enlightenment, it's really about, you haven't really experienced what it is to be fully human, most folks. And that it's, we think of, you go into samadhi and then you go into nirvikalpa samadhi and you're, one with the Christ consciousness to the farthest star and the most minute particle, and all of which is real and true. And human life can be enormously heightened and uplifted and integrated when, as you say, we live in duality as we were meant to, integrated, whole brain knowing, as opposed to, I got a left hemisphere, right hemisphere. There's a great Paul Simon song called "Think Too Much," where he goes, left side of the brain controls right side has to work hard all night, right? And there is that. This is what we're talking about today, I guess. Really, is the balancing of the polarity such that we can help become, as you say, Maia, the creators and architects of arcs of light on the planet, pockets of light here and there that will allow those of us who choose, it's a free will deal, free will game here, those of us who choose to activate our hearts sufficiently to move into that light spectrum where the ascension process of the new Earth star can unfold.
Yeah. Yes. And as we start creating these arcs of light, we're going to need that balanced duality in order to achieve the energetic field that is necessary to sustain them, not only to create them. Creating is one thing, sustaining is another. in the passion of creation, you've done this beautiful creative work, but it's going to wilt in the sunlight in the noontime if you don't have a sustainment element involved in it. It has to be sustained. And especially when the magnetic fields are going to be changing on the planet, we're going into extreme solar forcing that is taking us into an ice age. We're going through all these processes that are not going to be stopped. They're part of a natural birthing sequence. It's about how do we live with this? How do we live in harmony with it? And how do we learn from it to create the new earth condition in our fields so that we can transfer ourselves into that state physically? So in order to do all of that, in order to sustain these light fields that are necessary for this development, we have to have a certain electrical syncing going on with our brains and the field. And our hearts, of course. The heart is the main thing, but the brains are there. We aren't brainless. We have to incorporate the go-to brain in the whole sequencing. And if we don't master to a certain degree the harmonizing of our dual natures, we're not going to be able to do that. So that is kind of the defining point too between people who can do that because they desire to do it. It's not a feat of saints and masters. This is something that human beings can really accomplish to the level that is needed. Not the highest level ever, but to the level that is needed to allow the electromagnetic fields to be harmonized with our brains so that we can accomplish not just the creation, because that it can, put together and create something, but the sustainment and the what I want to say, the unifying field within it, so that it can undergo the harshness of the reality around that is going to be extreme. And as people start to realize that their world is really going down the tubes, and there's nothing that they can do about it on the levels that they're approaching it, there's going to be a lot of panic. There's going to be a lot of bad stuff coming down. But we have to, those of us who can sustain these realities, these spiritual presences on the planet in these light arcs, we will be a place of opening the field for those who need our help to come into that field, who want our help. Let's put it this, let's be clear, not just need it. Everybody's going to need it, but who want it, who need it, and what we, the light art persons, have to offer with that. We're not going to be perfect by it. We're going to still have our challenges and our situations, but they're going to be on a new level of consciousness. And so those that are just wanting it, but they don't know how to get there, they're the ones we're going to be helping into that field. Once we have a sustainable field, we have to have that first. And then we can offer it to others that are, kind of wobbly about it, but want to be included. The ones that cannot find it in their hearts and minds to adapt to that frequency of the planet, they're going to be the ones that we have a challenge with, because we will need to be able to create a field that's so powerful that they simply cannot enter it unless they are in alignment with it. That's not going to be an easy task, but it's doable. Thoth assures me that it is doable by the human beings that we have on this planet.
Well, it reminds me that, understanding our place, our role, our story, can be so helpful and clarifying and help us find our way through. And so I do want to just mention again, in your work, Maia, that for us to build a sustainable reality such that we can help others, it's like the little drill in the airplane as the flight is about to start, So if there should be a missing oxygen, well, please put your own mask on before you try to help somebody else.
Yeah.
that to be able to do that, it
Analogy, yeah.
yeah, it can feel so helpful in my experience to, have a clear understanding of your place in the story. That question so many of us are asking: what can I do? Who am I in this? What's my place? That the Akashic, um, translating Akashic counseling work that you do in your sessions, your Akashic sessions that you offer, that in my experience, that is about helping us understand our place in the story. The whole arc of our lives as souls is, it's a very, very long journey. And you can pick out, okay, here are 3 or 4 lifetimes from the great arc of your story as a soul that are coming through to be focused on in this session with Maia, where these are echoes or supports or examples from the great journey of your soul across these many lives. Here are 3 or 4 lifetimes that are patterns or echoes, supports of this one that'll help you understand where you are now, how you came to be here, and can help activate an understanding of the story. You go, okay, this resonates. I get it. Okay, I I screwed up as a centurion in Rome, but then I was, a minstrel in medieval times, and then I was a corrupt banker in London. Whatever. There's a
Okay,
huge
now
template.
let me get it, make it clear. I don't go into really lives, oh, this is awful, you did this and that and that. Everybody has some lives, in there somewhere, but that's not what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on the highlights of energy that are part of your spiritual command. So they're not going to be perfect lives. They're going to have little situations in them and whatever, and your little teeny failings, nothing big. But don't worry, it's not like we're going into the deep, dark dungeons.
I
We're
hope I
going
didn't
into,
paint it that way. Yeah.
well, a centurion.
Oh,
Anyway,
a centurion, right. You could have been a
but
good centurion. Yeah.
yeah, right, he could have been. But but I just wanted to make it clear that I'm focusing on, or what's being given me to focus on, is the lightning strikes, the lightning paths, the paths that make it clear to you where to go, where you're gone. That some of the points are very mundane almost, because I'm not looking at the whole lifetime of particular lifetimes. I'm looking at highlights, and these highlights are really very inspiring. Even if they have a few failings involved, there's an aha moment. There's always an epiphany involved in these particular lifetimes, because the idea is to find those epiphanies, to bring them together, and to understand how your life is a font of, epiphanies of the past life and the future life journeys and the present life. And also, I go into the Sonoma and Perot. I start with that. I'm not going to explain all that right at the moment, but the Perot is the landing point in the planet that you're in, and the energy spiral that comes out of it is the Sonoma, and the Sonoma is your tracking path. It is that which defines the soul's logica, the soul's logical experience. And it can be modified and transformed in many ways, but it's always there. It's always present. That pattern, just like the baby chick with the mama, is like you've been printed with the Sonoma. And I help people understand that, and how that is their go-to, and how to work with it.
All right. Well, I encourage everyone to just sit with the possibility of making that happen for yourself. And there's a brief little feature at the end of our program here can tell you how to get in touch with Maia to schedule a session. And of course, please do share and like and subscribe, and
In the comment.
in the comments. If you're able to donate to SAGE, to Sacred Academy of Geoenergetics, to support our work here, that would be deeply appreciated. And with that, it feels like a good wrap-up moment to me. Because this video is so rich.
I would like to.
Oh, you have something else you want to say?
I just wanted to say about the likes. When you like a video, it actually puts it higher in the logarithms, so that more people will be able to see it. So that's why it's important for crypto.
Algorithms. Yeah.
I just want to say
Okay. So with that, thank you everyone for being with us on Blue Star Rising, and God bless. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.